Hi, everybody. I'm Desiree Dunbar. I am your host of the Modern Day Priestess Masterclass series, and it's such a pleasure and honor to welcome here today Dianne Porchia, who is a holistic stress reduction expert and spiritual therapist featured in the Heal documentary on Netflix. And she's been utilizing the principles and practice of mind body medicine, psychoneuroimmunology, epigenetics, heart brain coherence, somatic dialogue, heart centered communication skills, and spiritual practices, including meditation, mindfulness, and visualization to help her clients achieve integrated balance, health, wellness in all areas of their life, personally, professionally, and spiritually. And I love all of that. I so welcome you here.
Well, thank you, Desiree. And I just want to make one correction. Heal
Sure.
documentary is now, it's no longer on Netflix, but it is
Okay.
on Amazon Prime Video and also Gaia. So we have a whole new audience that is starting to see it, which is great.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
saw it on Gaia the first time I saw it, and I've always loved Louise Hay, of course, and all her affirmation work, and that I think it was my first initiation into learning how to heal myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw you and the journey in which you guided someone to healing from cancer, it was just really quite mind-blowing for me that that work can happen from the inside out. Can you tell us about Portia's Wish?
Yeah,
Is
okay. So
her name?
Porsche's Wish
Okay.
is my business name, and WISH is an acronym. It stands for the Whole Integrated Self-Health. It's a path to healing, loving, and living consciously. And this is something that I came up with during my master's course in spiritual psychology, which was 20 years ago, and became the kind of program of how I've been working for the last 20 years. So I integrate, this the physical level, the mental level, the emotional level, and the spiritual levels. And over the years, I've accumulated a lot of different tools and techniques that I use,
Mhm.
and it's really rewarding work. And I'm really grateful to the people that made Heal documentary because now my work is accessible to so many more people, and I get to work with people from all over the world, which is awesome and inspiring and great.
That's incredible. What would a typical session be with you if someone was working with you one-on-one?
Yeah, so after the intake, which goes over what the program is and how I work, and it's a very organized program. However, it unfolds very organically. So there's a portion called the aiming, and then healing, anchoring, and then communication skills. And in each of those areas, the first aiming is about getting in touch with the body, dialoguing with those parts of the body that have been holding on to tightness, tension, stress, through a somatic dialogue process that really gets one out of the rational intellectual mind, and down into deeper levels of the heart, the soul, and the subconscious level, and then dialoguing and doing the work from those deeper levels. And normally, what comes up, I'd say 95% of the time, when we're working at those deeper levels, is information from early childhood. And then when that information comes forward, we move into the healing portion of the work that may include inner child healing work, looking at an inner saboteur voice that resides on the subconscious level, sacred anger work. People always resonate with that scene in the movie Heal documentary of my client throwing rocks on the hillside, and that was her sacred anger work. And then, of course, forgiveness, all very important parts of the healing process. And then once we do a bit of a healing portion, then we can anchor that new experiential awareness in the conscious mind through other techniques such as neurolinguistic programming and creative expression and different techniques like that. I always warn or caution that people can't do what's called the spiritual bypass and think that you can talk your way out of feeling or thinking a certain way. Because if there's a really loud inner saboteur voice that's residing in the subconscious level, you'll never gain that inner cooperation. And in my experience over the past 20 years, I've come to understand that the healing can't take place in that rational thinking mind. That's where all the protection mechanisms originated from. But we really need to access those deeper levels experientially first to gain the inner cooperation. And then the fourth area of focus is communication skills, which is foundational and essential for reducing mental and emotional stress, to supporting immune function, and to creating and maintaining successful and loving relationships. So I devote entire workshops and retreats around the communication skills alone.
Yeah, I can imagine. Such a key part.
Yeah.
And with that, I love that, the use of the inner saboteur and that part of ourself that's self-sabotaging. And I know you talk about it in a way that you can allow your inner saboteur to actually become your ally. Is it like,
Mm-hmm.
how does that work? 'Cause it feels impossible to quieten that voice.
Yeah, well, if you're trying to do it up here in the rational thinking mind, it's not going to be effective. So, traditional approaches to therapy, which is largely focused on cognitive and behavioral approaches, can give you an understanding intellectually about certain behavior patterns, but it doesn't do anything to really shift that inner experience. Um, the mind believes what it's presented, and the subconscious holds on to what's been imprinted. So we have to, do this deeper work that's similar to hypnosis, just a little different, and um, and that's where the healing takes place, at those deeper levels in the heart and the soul. It's hard to explain how that mechanism um, takes place. All I can describe it as we're just getting out of this rational thinking mind and down into a more heart-centered place. And through creating a safe and sacred space and doing the work at those deeper levels, people experience tremendous inner shifts. And my clients have, given me the feedback that they've accomplished more inner shifts and growth and healing in 4 sessions with me than in years of past therapy. So I know what I'm doing is working.
Yeah. That's so powerful. And I love that you
Yeah.
say it's being more accepted since the documentary as well. Have you run against that, the skeptics or the more people that are more focused on science? Maybe there hasn't been enough proof about these things, about, maybe even the epigenetics piece before epigenetics was a thing, but we knew there could be deep healing in the DNA that could happen. You're like a real trailblazer, and I so appreciate that about your work. And you've stayed, you've stayed steady with it. And what has been your experience of being a trailblazer?
Well, I mean, I love that you even, label me that. I think that's great. 20 years ago, I remember going to a conference called Reinventing Medicine, and that's the first time that I met Bruce Lipton. And he presented on the biology of belief, and I was just starting off in my career path then. And I was so inspired to learn that we have control over our genes. It's not our genetic makeup that determines the outcome of our health or wellness, but it's the expression of the genes. And Bruce Lipton, the cellular biologist featured in Heal documentary, does such a great job of explaining that in layman's terms and also pictorially, visually. I'm a visual learner, so I use a lot of that myself. And I was so inspired, and I just thought, oh my God, I'm so glad that I'm, on this path at this time in science and medicine, that all things are being presented. And I continue, of course, to learn, and there's more science coming forward that I keep learning about, and neurobiology and ophthalmology, and it's great. So
So fascinating. So for the person that goes to the doctor and the doctor says, "Oh, I see you have, heart disease in your family history," and then, the person starts being concerned about that. how would you support them in a shift around that?
Well, I mean, the first thing that they need to do is to take responsibility for their own health and wellness and their choices. And the first place to look is, the obvious is nutrition. If someone is having, heart issues, well, that's related to stress too. So, I mean, always looking the physical level, the nutritional level is important. I'm not a nutritionist, so that's not my field. My area of focus is mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So when there are stress factors involved in, a heart condition or gastrointestinal disorder, then, we look at the underlying issues. So in the work that I do, that what kind of sets me apart from traditional psychology is that we're working and accessing those deeper levels and actually getting to the core issues that created suppressed mental and emotional stress. And we're getting there real quick, not with years of therapy. And then healing those issues pretty quickly. Sometimes there's childhood trauma, sexual abuse that seems to show up quite frequently in cases of cancer, especially with in women and the female organs, ovarian or breast cancer. It's not uncommon that there's been some kind of history of that in the past. So healing that will come up. In fact, I love working with people with the cancer diagnosis because they're the ones that are really committed to showing up for themselves and doing the work, and unfortunately, it sometimes takes a life-threatening diagnosis like that for people to really show up for themselves and do the deeper work and the deeper healing work. I also work with, many people facing just other life stressors, divorce, death of a loved one, job loss, and people faced with autoimmune disorders that don't want it to progress into something worse.
Is that possible? Like for someone with an MS diagnosis, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, and even if, and Joe Dispenza's work, you familiar with Joe Dispenza's
Yes,
work
I
too?
love
So,
him. One of my
yeah,
favorites.
so I mean, he's been publishing a lot of great testimonials of people that have come in with like MS, Parkinson's, stuff that you would think is incurable. And so, I love his science, the heart-brain coherence part.
Yeah.
I understand now after he's been publishing this work, I've been following his work for 20 years as well. And in the last few years, he's been publishing his results and the research that he's been collecting. So, and it also validated the work that I've been doing because I didn't understand the mechanisms that were in play when I would see these incredible inner shifts and the healings. And now I understand that from the scientific view that the work that I've been doing reaches that heart-brain coherence, and that's how the inner shifts are taking place. It's wonderful.
That is wonderful. When I hear you talking about like the wake up call of a diagnosis like cancer,
Mm.
it feels like that connection to spirit that wants to be, maybe it's like a reconnection, like spirit with a capital S, or healing our relationship with something that's bigger than us. How do you describe spirit or the universe, or how does that feel to you?
Well, okay, so my work comes from the premise of that we're each, a spiritual being having our own unique human experience on earth. And as such, each individual already has all the inner resources to effectively meet each challenge. My role is to help facilitate that inner guidance, that inner knowledge. And sometimes, there's a lot of crap that's been built on top of that inner guidance where they can't get in touch with that. So the whole, the variety of different processes that I use help to pull back the layers of the walls and the things that have been hiding and suppressing that inner guidance and opening it up so that you know, they find the answers for themselves. And then there's actionable tools and techniques that they can be using straight away to help them in the continued healing process.
That's beautiful. Do you think you actually get to a place, do you feel it's possible for people to feel like, okay, I'm good, like I'm healed, here we are. Life is good.
Yeah, so, you know, there isn't any ultimate place of arrival or goal, okay? During our lifetime, we're here to, you know, to learn and to grow during our entire lifetime. So it's not like, oh yeah, I've reached this goal and now I'm done. I don't have to worry about anything again. Um, what happens is that you reach a higher level of consciousness, of integration holistically, and you operate your life at that level harmoniously for some period of time. And then something else comes to kind of shake that up. And then you know, oh, I'm back in school again, you know? So, and that's what kind of being on the path to conscious loving and conscious living is all about, is about recognizing the opportunities that arrive each day for more personal growth and learning and healing, and not letting that old imprinted program be running the show. So, you know, for the people that haven't started on that journey of personal growth, they're still being run by that imprinted program from early childhood, which I would call kind of living unconsciously. So 95% of the choices the adult is making in their life is based upon something that's been pre-programmed and imprinted in the subconscious mind. So they're reacting to life situations, to people, rather than responding in a conscious and mindful way that is from a heart-centered place. Usually it's, you know, from defense mechanisms or something, because they're feeling some sort of threat.
That's beautiful. So if someone raises their consciousness through doing the work with the inner child and the self-sabotaging part and this heart coherence, is the experience of getting your consciousness up to a higher level that will be more even keeled? Because I think for some people, do you think it's true that there's like a lot of ups and downs? Like one day you might feel okay, and then the next day you're like, just don't want to get out of bed. And then do you think there
Mm-hmm.
is a way to feel more just like an even keel with some undercurrent of
Yeah,
joy?
well, there's always going to be ups and downs, and I guess the problems arise for some people where it's those huge pendulum swings, you
Mm-hmm.
know, where you're at either end of that spectrum. You're really high or you're really low, and living a more balanced and conscious and integrated life is not about not having any modulations, but keeping that swing within a more narrower band, so you're not having these extremes anymore, and learning to gracefully ride the waves of, you know, when you're feeling a bit sad or down one day, and looking at, well, what's going on? You know, is there something emotionally that's coming up for me? Or maybe it's something physical, maybe it's something nutritionally that is really messing with your body chemistry, you know? So looking at all those different factors, not fixating on one particular thing, but just acknowledging it, and using your body as a gauge and barometer, and tracking yourself and see, you know, what what have I been doing that makes me feel so great today in this moment, and the other day I was feeling like really down in the dumps, and what is that about? Is that something that I have to look deeper into, or is it something that's more surface, like with nutrition or exercise or something like that, or maybe it's something that's deeper.
Is there an app for that to track? I think we need one.
Funny. You know, it's so
Oh my
funny
God.
because there are these like technologies that are coming out, and they pass my desk once in a while, and people try to get me interested in it. about that can diagnose, through some phone app or something. And it's like, no, in my experience, I'm just not buying that, because the healing doesn't take place in a phone app or a computer program that's been programmed with a bunch of information by some tech person and then spits out information. That doesn't really resonate with me. So it's the human interaction, it's the interpersonal interaction. That's why we're here, is, having our human experience, not to be, kind of led by our computers.
I love that. And I feel your energy is so uplifting and bright and just so nice to be in that presence. So I think just, being in the presence of a healer, someone who's devoted their life to their own spiritual practice, their own healing practice, we just get the benefits of that. And it's so beautiful just to be in your field right now. And it's reminding me how important it is to be around people like you. It's not an app. It's not just reading a book. I think you can still get a transmission from a book, but it's not the same as working with a teacher.
Yeah, well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your spiritual practice for yourself? How do you take good care of yourself as the woman who's channeling all this for so many people?
Yeah, well, I make sure that I do all my self-nurturing first before I take care of others. So my daily routine is waking up, about 7. I could get up earlier, but I like to sleep. And I go outside. And I'm fortunate enough to be living in a rural area, so I go for a morning hike. I make sure that my eyes are receiving that low angle yellow sunlight, which is setting the circadian 24-hour master body clock for every cell and every system in our body. It's also setting the clock for when the melatonin will be released later in the day for a more restful and restorative sleep, right? So I go for a morning hike, there's a special place that I go to where I do some yoga stretches and some qigong and some prayers and meditation. And then I get to see dogs along the way, so puppy love is always great. And then I get back and I'll start my work day at 10 in the morning.
Well, that sounds
So
pretty nice.
yeah, no, it's perfect. And I don't mind how late I have to work, because I start by filling myself up first, taking care of myself first before taking care of others. And so that's really, really important, making sure I've got lots of love in my life, friends, and, special people, special person right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Love that. And for women that are, they're looking at what you're doing and all your accomplishments and the energy that you're projecting, and they want to get there. Like they see you as a model and they're like, I really want to be in this position of healing, supporting, being in service, and being able to create my day in exactly the way I want. What advice would you have for women that feel called to that path but maybe haven't pursued it yet?
Yeah. Follow your intuition. My first step, of reinventing myself, that came about as as a result of going through a divorce. So I was married for 16 years and a stepmom to my husband's 3 kids. And when that ended, it kind of turned my world upside down. So I was going through that dark night of the soul and looking for myself. And during my own healing process, I started receiving therapeutic touch and massage. And then I experienced for the first time all the emotions that came out just from loving touch. And it was like, wow, I didn't know I had been holding on to so much hurt and suppressed, pain and anger, and all that stuff came out. So that experience really opened my eyes to the possibility of doing that type of work myself as a career path. And I had never thought of that before. But it's just, I just allowed myself to say yes, actually, to the opportunities that kept presenting itself to me. And that's how the career path kind of opened up. And
Mm.
so for people that are looking for, their next step, saying yes to what's showing up, because I believe the excuse me, the universe is always bringing people and opportunities and situations to us. And, um, we could be too hasty to judge that as, oh, that's not good enough, or that's not right, or whatever. But I found that in saying yes to the opportunities that show up, each each yes has been another step forward that has helped me to get to where I am right now.
That's beautiful. It feels like there's so much expansion, and that takes courage because it would be easy enough just to stay like in a nice, comfortable place. I'm okay here. But then
Yeah.
there's like another, the universe might bring you another opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And not all the opportunities were what, easy ones. There's challenge. I mean, when there's challenge, that's really when we're growing. And also, our closest relationships are where the biggest opportunities are for personal growth and healing and
Mm.
learning. So, um, you know, I've certainly been in relationships that have been challenging, and at the same time that I'm in them, I'm understanding too that, okay, well, this is something that I am choosing to go through at this time in my life, and what am I learning from it? What am I going to take away
Mhm.
from it?
Yeah, that's not always easy.
Yeah, no, no, and sometimes it's uncomfortable.
hmm Yeah, that's a really good point. Just finding that discomfort or acceptance of being uncomfortable. I think so many of us shy away when we start to feel uncomfortable. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And what I say to my clients that uh, or get stuck in the fear or the self-doubt, you know, is
Mhm.
that to just remind yourself that everything continues to show up for the highest good of all concerned, right? And to trust that everything
Mhm.
that is showing up for the highest good of all concerned.
That's such a beautiful reminder because it's so easy to feel like God gave up on me or the universe has just neglected me.
Hmm.
I feel that comes up a lot for women, especially. And so that's a beautiful reminder just to keep seeing it in that way. I think, and to even get excited about some difficulties that are coming our way because it is an opportunity to transform and to move into maybe a better version of ourselves. I don't think it's
Yeah,
supposed to be easy, but
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. That's the gift of our human experience,
Yep.
part of the
So if
gift.
we if we want to dive into your work more, which I know our viewers will love to, as I have, what is the best way to do that? And do you do teacher trainings? Do you do mostly one-on-one? What is the scope of your work?
Yeah, so since 2020, everything is, turned upside down. I was, offering a lot of in-person workshops and retreats in different places, which were great. And so there's some limitations on what can be offered right now. But I am planning planning like small concierge retreats and small retreats in Aspen, Colorado this year, both in June and in September. So there'll be small group offerings, and then also concierge works for couples and for families. So it's a private group offering. And that information on that is found on my website. I'm also continue to offer one-on-one Zoom sessions, and I, work with people from all over the world like that, and it's great. And let me see what else. There will be some professional trainings coming up, and I'm not sure how that is going to work. It'll be online, and then there'll also be an opportunity for us at the culmination to all come together in in a retreat setting, probably in Aspen, because I love that.
Ooh, that
Yeah,
sounds magical.
yeah.
I love it. I love that you're working with families too. That feels like it has such good energy there to work on that.
Yeah, no, especially with the communication skills, it's so important. So last year I did a private concierge retreat for a couple, and it was in Aspen, and they had come from a different part of Colorado, so they just drove in,
Uh-huh.
and it was great. And we had 3 days together. It was intensive work. While doing the inner work, we're combining outdoor activities, so moving that stuck energy but through moving the physical body, so hiking, daily hiking, and cycling. For the longer retreats, will include horseback riding, which is great. And each of those outdoor activities gives an opportunity to go within, connect with nature, connect with one's authentic self, and relaxing that overactive mind that is caught up in their own stuff, when you're confined to four walls and working, and just getting outdoors in nature really
Mm.
facilitates the inner work. So I forgot to mention that nature is a really important aspect of the work that I do.
Mm. You're speaking my language. I'm
Yeah,
loving everything you say.
yeah. So when I
And
was
it's,
seeing people in person individually, they would come to my home office and we would sit outside and look at the beautiful mountains that surround me and see what animals may show up to help facilitate processes.
wow, that is magical. Oh my gosh, I love that. So
Yeah,
powerful and completely holistic. And it just gives such hope. And for me, when I hear your words, I feel relief because it's a feminine way, a feminine approach of holistic healing, body, mind, soul that just feels needed more than ever on the planet today.
absolutely.
Yeah, and to have someone of your skill set and devotion and the brightness of your soul here on the planet at this time, guiding other teachers and supporting in the healing of the wounds of humanity is just it just gives me great hope. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
Thank you for
welcome.
everything you
And
do.
I love the work that you've been doing with dance and
Oh,
movement. So, dance and movement has always been like a love and passion of mine as well. And, I wanted to be a dance therapist years ago. And, I would tell my clients, you can't be depressed if you're dancing salsa. So, I would tell them their homework would be go to a salsa class. And move your body. Or by cancer clients, especially the women that have gone through treatment, and there's a PTSD that arises from that whole process. And with the sexual organs of the body, women would kind of disassociate themselves from the injured part of their body and disassociate from their sexuality, disconnect. And so I would have them go to a 5 rhythm class. They're offered all over the country. And I don't know if they're offered outside of the US, probably, because Gabriel
yeah, we
Roth's
have some
work has,
teachers here in Vancouver that teach the 5 rhythms. It looks really
it's
powerful. I
great.
haven't done.
Yeah, so it's a really safe environment for women to go to get to reconnect with their body in a sensual way, and to also practice communication skills, nonverbal communication skills. So if there's been trauma in the history as well, I find that dance and the 5 rhythm dance classes and that free form structure where one is able to interact with other people on the dance floor without speaking. So there's no obligation to connect in that regard, but you can dance in and out and move and communicate non-verbally through movement, and communicate a whole lot of things. So it's really powerful and effective.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. It is
Hmm.
really powerful. Well, thank you so much for today and sharing more about your techniques and all the work that you do. And I love bringing this awareness to more people so they can come find you and learn more about your work. And we'll share the button down below. And just so appreciate you coming on today and connecting with all our viewers.
Yeah,
This was
absolutely. Thank you for inviting me, Desiree. So if people one can also go to my website, which
okay.
is porscheswish.com. And also please sign up and follow me on Instagram, Dianne Porchia, Dianne Porchia, Porchia. I also have a YouTube channel and different playlists. One is on workshops, retreats, the other is on healing cancer, one's on relationship, and I think some quantum healing. There's a lot of different playlists and a lot of information on both Instagram and YouTube. So those are great
Yeah,
resources for people, as well as on my
amazing.
website testimonials and things of people that describe in their own words of what it's like to work with me and stuff.
Beautiful. And we can watch the Heal documentary too
And of course, Heal
gotta watch that.
documentary, yeah, which
So
is
good.
now on Amazon Prime Video and Gaia, which is awesome.
Awesome. Yay. Congratulations with that
Thank you.
and all the amazing accomplishments that you've been receiving accolades for. It's great.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, thanks for joining today. And everybody will be back again tomorrow with another amazing guest. So please join us again tomorrow and look forward to seeing everybody soon. Bye, Diane.
Bye.